Hi, I'm Rick Dior, and I'm the professor of percussion at UNC Charlotte. And I'm here today to talk to you about the NCMEA concert snare drum and bass drum audition materials for 2024. So this is a fairly difficult concert solo just because it starts so soft. It crescendos for quite a while, 3 lines here, and then it peaks at letter B, and then there's a diminuendo or a decrescendo for another 3 lines. So it's just a gradual coming and going. I like to picture someone walking towards me from a long way away and then just passing me and going the other way a long way away. It's, kind of coming and going. So you get really, really loud at B, and you have to pace yourself. So that means you have to start really, really soft at A. So first, a little word about the equipment I'm using. This is a Philharmonic concert snare drum. If you watch any of these other videos, it's the same snare drum that I've been using. It is a concert snare drum, and I want to show you the snares real quick. And this drum is a little bit difficult to get up here. It's extremely heavy. So you see those snares. So it's got some curly snares, some wire, and some cable. So if you just use curly snares, the problem is it's not going to be very sensitive. So you want to try to use a concert snare drum if you can for this audition. Maybe you can borrow one from your band room in school, or hopefully they'll have one at the audition. Now this is a concert bass drum, better known as the Gran Cassa, which is a big drum. And the heads on here are not calfskin. They might look like it, but they're fiber skin heads. I have no idea what kind of bass drum they're going to have for you at the audition. It could be something old and in disrepair, or it could be a really nice drum. So be prepared for anything. And we'll do the bass drum portion in a minute, but before we start that, just a few things I'll talk about here. I'm using a footrest, and I'm not sure this is going to come out in the camera, but I'll show you a picture of it here on the screen. This is a Pearl bass drum. This is my bass drum I use for gigging and renting out. It's got a portable stand. A lot of bass drums are suspended, so it might have a big ring and the bass drum might be sort of floating. This sits on a stand. I would recommend you bring some sort of footrest. This is one made by Grover. I use it for bass drum playing and tambourine playing instead of a chair. You could use a chair, but getting it in here is going to be tricky. This is a tricky little setup. You also noticed that I muffled the bass drum. Hopefully you saw that in the beginning with this little carpet square. And what happens is when you play the snare drum, the bass drum's going to ring like this. I'm not sure you can hear that, but when I muffle it, no more ring on that. So you don't have to do that at the audition. It's just something that you might want to consider doing because it really can be loud, especially if it's tuned similar, like an octave lower than the snare drum, or 2 octaves lower. So the bass drum mallets I'm using are these Black Swamp dual-sided mallets, which are perfect for this little bass drum solo. We have a soft felt side like lamb's wool, and then we have a hard side. So you just flip it for those drags and that one 4-stroke rough on the bass drum. So like I said, we'll talk about the bass drum more in a minute. Let's talk about the snare drum. So I'm going to muffle this back up here. Oh, by the way, the sticks I'm using are just these rosewood sticks that I like to use, that I make for snare drum with a barrel tip. Just use something between 65 and 75 grams. It needs to have some weight to it. Try not to use your drum set sticks. They'll be a little thin for this. So it starts really, really soft, and you want to play on the edge. All right. I am doing the solo at quarter note equals 1/16. So I'll just play the first line for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Normally I'll start crescendoing when I have this long crescendo. I'll do a slight dynamic change every 2 bars in this case. So I sort of have a landmark, which means that the second line is going to be mezzo piano, and then the third line is going to be forte, and all the way to fortissimo at B. So we'll play now A to B for you. So you see how I'm getting louder and louder, but gradually. Tricky. Okay, now there's a lot of drags and some flams in this etude. Play them all closed like this. Since it's pretty fast, you want to play them closed and quickly. So, and the flams closed. Everything kind of tight, all right? And when you get to line 3, you see these 30-second notes there. Play those very quickly, but single them. Four-stroke rough before B, you can stick that singles, or I stick it right, left, left, right. And then we're at B, and we're really, really loud here, okay? So you've got to have your dynamic range set, so the pianissimo and the fortissimo. Don't overplay the drum, though. It's easy to do that, okay? But you're probably going to be in a room and not a concert hall, so you won't have that feedback from the hall, so you don't want to overplay that room there. So now we'll play from B all the way to the end of the snare drum portion. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you have 4 bars to do a bunch of stuff. So the first thing you're going to do is turn off the snare drum. That's really important. Then the next thing you do is put your sticks down. You probably won't have this muffling, but I did. So take that off. Turn the page if you have to. I'm using a tablet here. Hopefully you'll have 2 pages laid out. That'll save you some time. Grab the mallets, put your leg up if you're using a footrest, which you should. And if you're using a double-ended mallet, make sure you have both ends, or double-sided, I should say. Both sides the same, and assume the position, okay? So this big forte note in the first measure of the bass drum portion is played right below center. And let that ring, okay, a good deal. And then right before you play these 8th notes here in the second bar, take your knee and put it into the bass drum. So let's play that again for you. Now you see there in the 3rd bar there, I left my knee on the drum. So, because we want that to be drier. And then the roll, it's a single stroke roll, and you spread out your hands there. Now I'm playing traditional. You can play matched. It's a little bit awkward, but it'll work. It's trickier. So this is where traditional really comes in handy. So because of the angle of the bass drum. And normally you could lay a bass drum flat, but don't count on that. Okay? So you see I'm spacing the mallets like this. You can also do it here. That's fine. Or below. But I like to space them. Now that next note, the first note of line 2, is short. So get ready with your knee. So all right. So right there, you're going to switch the mallet, if you have these double-ended mallets, to the hard side to get these drags to come out and the 4-stroke rough. So let me play with the metronome, line 2 for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. You see there how I switched like that. You don't have to do that, but it helps. And when I play professionally, I'll use these kind of mallets for things with a lot of rolls and drags and roughs. So now I'll play the whole bass drum portion for you so you can hear it. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you see, I hope, that I'm hitting the drum in the center when I have those SF, sforzandos. So that's the node, the tightest spot on the drum. Okay, so that's where you want to hit it when you have a big, sharp accent like that. Otherwise, once again, play right off center. So those are the things you want to practice: the switch, the dynamics in the snare drum, and the positioning on the bass drum. So I'll play the solo now all the way through without the audible click track for you. I'll be listening to it, but you won't hear it unless there's a little bit of bleed. And I wish you lots of luck on your audition.